Hey, gang, how are you? Hello, hello, everybody. Let me try and adjust this view because it's really spectacular. Try and figure out what I need to do. I want you to see what's behind me. 3 weeks from today is the 20th anniversary of September 11. I am at the CNN headquarters in New York with a spectacular, why can't you see it? With a spectacular view. There you go. Are you seeing the Freedom Tower? Yeah, that's it. You are seeing it. I don't know why in my monitor it doesn't look as clear as I am seeing it. Actually, let me give you a quick, I'm going to unplug power and hope that I maintain my connection. I want you to see what I'm looking at, and then I'll tell you why I'm here. So this is one view. Actually, funny, that's the Peloton headquarters. I guess if I stuck around long enough, I could see Hannah Corbin giving me a workout. The views from this place are unbelievable. So look at this. Look at that. And when CNN first moved into this space, there was a spectacular northern view. And now look, that building, they're still building it. You can also see that the streets, it is early on a Saturday morning, but you can also see that the streets of Midtown Manhattan are just desolate. Like there are no cars moving. That's not the way that it used to be. That's unfortunate. But yeah, pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. All right, let me try and get in better light. There's nobody around. Had to go through a whole Vax Pass system in order to get in the building. Yeah, that's the vision that I want. I want you to see the Freedom Tower, if you can, behind me. Are you able to see it? Okay, Jamal says, very cool. What takes you there today? Are there, Joe the Nerd, are there elevators in the Peloton building? That is a great question. It's so funny. Damien, you thought you were going to go to bed, but you saw that I'm live. Aloha from Hawaii. Have you seen White Lotus? It's filmed at the Four Seasons, I think, in Maui. I've never been to Hawaii. I've never. No, it's foggy, says Mary Coyle. Ah, sugar. Sorry, Mary. Really? You guys can't see the Freedom Tower behind me? When I move my camera, I seem to lose the image. Trust me, it's right there. I positioned myself in this location just so you could see it. Right where I'm pointing. 3 weeks from today, the 20th anniversary of September 11. I know all of you watching already have your Steven Singer 9/11 Never Forget pins, but if you don't, get one sooner than later. Okay, to Jamal's point, why am I here today and not in Philadelphia? I am here today because joining me in studio is Sean Penn. Do I even need to introduce him when he's my guest today? Can I just say, truly someone who requires no introduction? Here's Sean Penn. He has a brand new movie that came out last night. It's called Flag Man. So that's why he's making himself available. He is a guy known for extreme volunteerism. And interestingly, as it relates to COVID, which is now his latest passion, getting people vaccinated. And it was Sean Penn and CORE, his organization, that were responsible for the Dodger Stadium vaccination site. And then they replicated it in 47 other locations across the country. Really impressive what they were able to do. But you may already know this. He said to people, if you're not vaccinated, don't come out and see the movie. And similarly, he is right now portraying John Mitchell, Richard Nixon's attorney general, in a television show that has not yet aired. It's being filmed. I think the network is Stars, but don't hold me to that. And he said, and got a lot of attention for this, if you're not fully vaccinated, you shouldn't have anything to do with the production. So Sean Penn has been very hardcore in a way that I like and respect in saying that people need to get vaccinated and employers need to hold to account their employees who are not. So there are so many things to talk to him about, of course, to ask questions about the movie, but I'm also really interested in talking to him about his controversial positions. Not controversial to me, but if you're looking to put fannies in seats at a movie, to say to people, don't even come if you're not vaccinated, I think is really of interest. And I wonder what the blowback was like. I wonder if he got any blowback from the studio, which is MGM, when he said that. He wasn't supposed to be in this movie in which he stars with both of his children, Dylan and Hopper. Dylan much more so. She has a starring role and Hopper has a secondary role. But Sean Penn was getting ready to direct this movie, and Casey Affleck, 30 days out from filming, bailed for reasons that I don't understand. And Penn decided that he would fill that role. He's appropriate age. It was he who had talked his daughter Dylan into being in this movie, and so he jumped right into it. And it's good. I saw it last night. It's very emotional. It's about I guess I should tell you, Flagman is about a con, a guy who is a forger. I don't want to give too much away, but he's a guy with a very checkered history and lifestyle, struggling to keep his relationship alive with his two kids, particularly his daughter. And the only other thing that I'll say, no spoiler alert, at least for me, is that it was similar to Breaking Bad. John Vogel, who is the character that Sean Penn plays, is not cooking meth, but similar to Breaking Bad in that you're rooting for Bryan Cranston's character. You want him to survive and succeed. So yeah, believe it or not, that's why I'm here today. He offered to do the show and wanted to do it face to face. So I said that I would come in and am doing so. Of course, Afghanistan is the big story. I may ask him about that as well. I mean, he's willing to talk about anything, I can tell. But relative to Afghanistan, Michael O'Hanlon, who was a guest of mine on POTUS this week, he from Brookings, is going to be a guest of mine at the outset of the program. And I want to address in a commentary that starts the show. I want to start the program with a commentary today addressing the question, was it all in vain? And my audience, my focus for the commentary will be those who served and the families of those who died. And the thesis is to say, no matter what's to come in Afghanistan today, it's not your fault. Bad decisions were made a long time ago by our political leaders. We have civilian control of the military, and the men and women who served there, 2,000, I think 443 died, 20,000 plus were injured, many, many more had boots on the ground in Afghanistan. They did what they were sent there to do, and they were there for noble purpose. They were there to seek justice, to seek revenge for what happened right there 20 years ago on the 3rd, what am I trying to say? 20 years ago, come 3 weeks. Yeah, I mean, there it is. Think of everything that went on right there. And the men and women, it pains me to think that anyone who served in Afghanistan would have his or her tail between their legs for what's now going on in Afghanistan. It's no reflection on them whatsoever. The mistake, as I've said on radio, was that it became a project not just of killing those responsible for sending 19 in our direction. The mistake was that it became an exercise in instilling democracy, nation building, call it whatever you would like to call it, and we stayed too long. And I'm not defending the lack of preparation for what's on the ground right now at Kabul and in other locations. It's horrible to watch it playing itself out, but I want us out of there. So I'm willing to give Joe Biden credit for getting us out. But the execution of getting us out, thus far, problematic and indefensible. That's where I've been all week on this. I may be wrong, but at least I'm consistent. So what I'm going to say is, this. Soon we will again reflect on those momentous events and the contribution of the 2,443 Americans who died fighting in Afghanistan. I'll first make reference to 9/11. And the more than 20,000 were injured there. Was their sacrifice all in vain? My answer, no way. Justice demanded a response after 19 hijackers unleashed an unprovoked attack that killed 3,000 innocent Americans. The United States was wholly justified in hunting down those responsible and their enablers. That's why we went to Afghanistan, and the men and women who answered their nation's call were responding to a noble purpose. To the extent mistakes were made, and they were, that doesn't bear on the service and sacrifice of those who were boots on the ground. It wasn't they who decided that instead of a law enforcement focused sniper approach, going after only those who caused 9/11, instead we would end up responding with a proverbial shotgun blast. In this country, we have civilian control over our military. The rank and file had no say in whether we would turn deserved retribution into yet another effort to instill democracy based on the flawed premise that electing leaders cures all ills. And those who wore the uniform of our nation while overseas weren't the ones who perpetrated the folly that then took us into Iraq. You get the gist of it, right? I just think it's important. I view what I have here at CNN and what I have daily at SiriusXM in circumstances like this as a real privilege to say something that I think needs to be said. And what I want to say today on television is, if you or a loved one went over there because of what happened 20 years ago there, that was for noble purpose. And if what ends up transpiring in Afghanistan, I think it's still too soon to tell, not whether the Taliban control it, but just how ugly it'll get. But if it gets ugly, that's not a reflection on those Americans who went and served. Was it all in vain? No. Those responsible for September 11 took a while, but we got them because people went over there and were willing to serve. And to the extent political figures made bad calculations, that is not a reflection on the men and women in uniform. That's my message. So I'll deliver that message. I'll have a conversation with Sean Penn, and then also a very impressive scientist who studies automation and human behavior. Her name is Dr. Emily Cummings from Duke. And we will talk about Tesla and the fact that there are now all these investigations having to do with so-called self-driving cars. And then I also want to do a commentary about COVID, brief commentary at the end. TC made a good observation this week when we were talking about 3 US senators, all of whom were vaccinated and now have COVID. And what's the observation? One's an R, one's a D, and one's an I. So politics has permeated our response to the virus, but the virus doesn't care. The virus is coming after all of us, regardless of our political affiliation. And I thought that was a really important point to make. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed this brief look. Did the view get any better, or is it still too foggy down there for you to see? Can you imagine, this building didn't exist, but can you imagine being in this location 20 years ago and 3 weeks and watching all those events, those horrific events unfold? A lot has happened. A lot has happened. Okay, gang, thank you so much for being here. Share this with a friend, ring the bell, do all the subscribe. What am I supposed to say? Subscribe and ring the bell. Subscribe and ring the bell. Watch CNN at 9 a.m. This should be really interesting. Sean Penn on set. Who knows where the conversation will lead? Okay? Have a good day. I'll see you.